At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
All right, so we're back for another deep dive, and today we're going to be talking women's college basketball.
Sounds good.
It's pretty obvious that two teams in particular are really generating a ton of buzz right now online, and that's UConn and South Carolina.
Yeah, for sure.
We've got some pretty interesting data here. It's kind of a snapshot of what people are actually searching for online and what they're saying. So we're going to try to pull out like the key storylines and questions, around these two teams and the NCAA tournament as a whole.
Definitely.
And the players that are driving a lot of the excitement.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be. I think it's going to be pretty revealing in terms of what fans are really interested in the world of women's college basketball. So, you ready to jump in?
Let's do it.
Okay, so one of the things that really jumps out right away is just the sheer number of searches that are like directly comparing UConn and South Carolina, right? Like UConn versus South Carolina versus UConn. It's like this is the matchup that everybody's waiting for.
Definitely the marquee matchup, yeah.
Yeah, and it goes beyond that. Like people are looking for scores and predictions. UConn South Carolina score, UConn versus South Carolina prediction, and even using like abbreviations like USC versus UConn or UConn versus SC, SC versus UConn. So it's clearly, this rivalry is clearly a huge focal point.
I mean, it makes sense. Like when those two teams play, the level of competition is so high and there's so much on the line. Every time they play, it feels like a real clash of styles.
Yeah. And I think it's also interesting that we're seeing a lot of searches for like where to watch South Carolina Gamecocks women's basketball versus UConn Huskies women's basketball, or even just how to watch UConn versus South Carolina. So people aren't just like passively interested; they're actively looking for ways to tune in.
That's right, and it speaks to how accessible the game is becoming. Like people have options; they can watch it on TV, they can stream it online.
Yeah. Okay, so let's zoom out a little bit and look at the tournament as a whole. We're seeing a lot of searches for, women's March Madness, NCAA Women's Championship, Women's Final, NCAA Women's Basketball, NCAA Women's Final Four. So clearly the entire tournament is a big deal.
Absolutely. And I think the variety of those searches, like, the fact that people are searching Final Four and National Championship and even variations like, Women's March Madness or March Madness Women, it shows that people are interested in every stage of the tournament.
Yeah, and it's not just about, this year's tournament either. We're also seeing searches for like, NCAA Women's Basketball Tournament 2025 and Women's March Madness 2025. So people are already looking ahead.
Yeah, definitely. There's always that anticipation for next year,
Yeah, and I think it's also important to note that we're seeing some more general terms as well, like, women's NCAA and NCAA basketball tournament. So the interest isn't just limited to UConn and South Carolina. It's about women's college basketball as a whole.
Totally. It's a sign that the game is growing in popularity. More people are paying attention.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the specific players who are really generating a lot of buzz. On UConn side, we're seeing, Paige Buchers, Azzi Fudd, Sarah Strong.
Big names.
And then for South Carolina, we've got, Dawn Staley, the coach, KK Arnold, Caitlin Shen, Aaliyah Edwards, Ayla Brown, Ashlyn Shade, and even the analyst, Cheney Idol-Mike, and the player, Full Wiley. So clearly, individual talent and leadership are really important to fans.
Yeah. I mean, the players are the faces of the game, right? People connect with them on a personal level.
Yeah, and it's not just about like their performance on the court either. We're seeing searches for things like Paige Buchers' mom, Fudd UConn, Sarah Strong UConn, UConn Paige Buchers. How many points did Paige Buchers score today? Where is Paige Buchers from? So people want to know more about their backgrounds and their lives off the court.
I think that's really interesting. It shows that fans are invested in these players as people, not just as athletes.
Yeah, and it's kind of poignant, but we're also seeing Gigi Bryant pop up in the searches.
Yeah, that's definitely a reminder of her legacy and the impact she had on the game.
Okay, so shifting gears a little bit, let's talk about the teams themselves. We're seeing a lot of very straightforward searches like UConn women's basketball, South Carolina women's basketball, and then their full names, UConn Huskies women's basketball and South Carolina Gamecocks women's basketball. And we're also seeing abbreviations like UConn WBB, and Gamecock women basketball. So clearly there's a lot of interest in these two teams specifically.
It just shows the brand recognition that those programs have built. You know, people know them by their nicknames, their abbreviations, everything.
Yeah. And we're also seeing some more general searches like, UConn women's, South Carolina, UConn women's NCAA basketball, UConn game, women's NCAA basketball, Connecticut women's basketball, UConn Huskies. So even people who aren't like diehard fans are aware of these two teams.
Absolutely. They're kind of household names at this point.
Now, digging a little deeper into the history and identity of these teams, we're seeing searches like UConn championships, South Carolina women's basketball, South Carolina basketball women, UConn women's basketball national championships, UConn national championships, UConn women basketball. So clearly people are interested in their legacies and their past successes.
Championships are a big deal. You know, they define a program's history.
Yeah, and we're also seeing some very specific questions like, last time UConn women won national championship and UConn women's national championships. So there's a real interest in understanding UConn's dominance, especially in recent years.
Well, it's been so successful for so long. You know, it's natural for people to want to know more about their history.
And we're also seeing a lot of searches that directly compare the two teams, like UConn versus UConn USC, and then the full UConn versus South Carolina women's basketball, UConn Huskies women's basketball versus South Carolina Gamecocks women's basketball, and vice versa. So this rivalry is clearly a central theme in the online conversation.
It's the rivalry that everyone wants to see,
Okay, so this is where it gets kind of interesting. We're also seeing some searches mixed in here for the men's teams, like UConn Huskies men's basketball versus South Carolina Gamecocks men's basketball, and just UConn Huskies men's basketball.
Yeah.
So there might be some crossover in interest, or maybe some people just getting confused about what they're searching for.
It's possible. I mean, some people might just be big fans of both programs, regardless of gender.
Right. Now, we also see a lot of questions that are focused on, like, very specific game details. Like, what time does UConn play today? Did UConn win last night? UConn score, UConn game today, and even just UConn score by itself. So people want up-to-the-minute information.
That's the world we live in now. Instant updates.
Yeah. And to round it all out, we're also seeing searches related to schedules and logistics, like UConn women's basketball schedule, NCAA women's basketball schedule, March Madness women's schedule. So people want to know when and where to watch the games.
Makes sense. Got to plan your viewing schedule.
Right. And we're seeing a lot of other, like, general basketball terms, too, like NCAA basketball championship, South Carolina basketball, Gamecocks, women's basketball, Lady Gamecocks basketball, girls college basketball, women's basketball, NCAA, women's championship, women's college basketball, women NCAA basketball, women's basketball, NCAA women's basketball today, NCAA basketball, women's basketball championship, NCAA basketball, NCAA scores, basketball scores, and even broader terms like NCAA score, NZDM, and men's Final Four scores. So it really shows how interconnected the world of basketball fandom is.
Totally. It's all part of the same conversation.
And it's worth noting that we also see a very specific question: has Paige Bueckers won a national championship? So even within a team sport, people are really focused on individual achievements.
Paige Bueckers is a star, People are drawn to her story.
All right, so as we wrap up this deep dive, what are some of the key takeaways here?
Well, I think first and foremost, the UConn-South Carolina rivalry is clearly a major driving force in women's college basketball right now. That's where a lot of the attention is focused.
Yeah.
And then secondly, the NCAA women's tournament as a whole is a huge draw. People are interested in every stage of the tournament, not just the final game.
Mm-hmm.
And third, individual players like Paige Bueckers and Dawn Staley are really important in driving fan engagement. People want to know more about them both on and off the court.
Yeah.
And finally, there's a really big demand for information. People want to know scores, schedules, team histories, how to watch the games.
It really feels like this search data gives us a unique look into the minds of fans. Like, we can see what they're really interested in.
Totally. It's almost like a real-time pulse of the fan base.
Yeah. So to you, the listener, I'd ask, what do you think? Like, what do you think all this interest in specific players and in that UConn-South Carolina rivalry tells us about sports fandom in general? Like, what is it about these individual narratives and these really compelling matchups that really captures our attention? What aspects of these teams or players resonate the most with you? I think that's something worth thinking about long after this deep dive is over.
Absolutely. It's about the stories, the personalities, the drama. That's what makes sports so compelling.
And that's it for this deep dive.
Until next time.
We'll catch you later.
See you.
Today is your lucky day. Today is the day that our $3 website works for you, paying you directly to your PayPal daily. Imagine $3 ongoing continuous payments to your PayPal account. Imagine falling asleep and waking up to $300 in your PayPal account. How would this make you feel? How could this help you? What bills could you pay? What kind of fun could you have? What does that retirement look like now? All for a one-time payment of $3. This website is DFY done for you, fully built and completely hosted, and never stops collecting payments for you. You have spent $3 on coffee on a regular, but that coffee won't help you create multiple streams of income. Click the link below.